Cheers.
All right, cheers to the
the
fourth episode.
Yeah. Okay, how did we and how do people become radicals?
Yeah, the big question today is the window. The what is that window?
Well, for you, the window is closed when we described as you were not allowed to US, to your homeland last time. So sometimes window is closing for the radicals. I think if you had the political and life views that you used to have 15 or 20 years ago, it would not be a problem.
Yeah, right, right.
What were they?
Oh my gosh! I was very radically left wing,
Wow.
essentially. I mean, I was pretty far left. I was almost at the height of my left wing, let's say, extremism, which was just a very naive kind of.
Were
sense.
you a big supporter of open borders and socialism, or I know how high taxes on the rich?
It wasn't something that was on anyone's tongues at the time. Open borders. It was very, it wasn't a topic. That's a new topic. That's what a lot of people don't understand is kind of the shifting narratives, right? And what is prevalent today wasn't even thought about 20 years ago. 20 years ago, like trans right for kids. It was a joke. Trans people were a total joke. Like no one foresaw that it's going to become what it is today, because it's so. I mean, especially if you go back 30 years ago, just talking about trans people for a moment, it's just like
You mean like 90s, yeah?
yeah, in the 90s. I mean, they did exist in a very, 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 very minute percentage of the, not even a 0.5% of the population, not even 0.1% of the population probably was trans in the 90s. So it wasn't even an idea that this could be something that would happen. And if you go back even further, it's just completely incomprehensible that we would be at this point in time where we have these kind of trans lives, unless you were living in Weimar, Germany. Yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I hope my audience does as well. Weimar, Germany. What were the books they were burning there during the certain period of time after following Weimar?
They were Nazis burning bad, not bad, good Jewish books.
Good, very good Jewish books. Transgender ideology, socialism, communism. What were those books? Find out for yourselves. Look it up.
Okay, but
Yeah.
let's go back to this time. As you were leftist, you were living under your parents' room with your mother, with your parents, or you were either in the university, or it was like afterwards.
Right, I was living in my mother's basement at the time, like many. No, I'm kidding. But I mean, considering it was really interesting, coming into this kind of left-wing ideology, approaching this left-wing ideology. I mean, I was definitely kind of not coerced, but I was basically enveloped in it my whole life, because I was raised by a single mother without much influence from a father, and many of the females, and also just living together with a lot of females. Eventually, my mother and aunt lived together with my grandmother and cousin. And actually, feminism.
Female environment.
Yeah, strong female environment here, and I mean, even from my grandmother was basically a feminist from
So
1960s.
you were like third generation feminist.
Basically, yeah. I mean, that's certainly what my sister became, and she's quite a far left. I don't know if you would call her a TERF, which is a something radical feminist. They're against trans
Watch your words.
exclusive.
She might be watching this.
Maybe I mean, she's not a trans exclusive radical feminist. At least not yet, but maybe one day.
But I know CNN watching, Trump hating.
Yeah, right. More like PBS. PBS is more far left than or more left than CNN, but I know they do compete. But anyway, having all that female energy around and being, but I mean, it's like at the time of becoming politically aware and just like, oh, Al Gore, Clinton against Bush, or whoever it was that Clinton was running against, I can't remember. But I mean, I was just so super into politics. Even at that time, I watched the television about the election for between Al Gore and George Bush up until midnight, past when my parents went to sleep already, or my mother went to sleep. And gosh, and then Al Gore lost, and I was so crushed. I was, oh no, the world's ending, you know. And I mean, we can laugh about it, but I mean, this is the kind of impact of that media. We get, I mean, just like with
I think you were like these red hair lesbians crying after Trump winning election.
no. I mean, I was really just being dramatic. Like, oh no, our guy lost. And I mean, I thought Al Gore was so cool. He's talking about the environment, man. No one's talking about the environment. We gotta, the inconvenient truth, the big documentary at the time, which was a big convenient lie, as we grow up to learn. Which, by the way, congratulations to Antarctica putting on some weight. Antarctica putting on over 1 billion pounds of ice. Over 1 billion pounds of ice. Great job, Antarctica. You beat it.
On this place, also congrats to Europe for destroying their own economy. Because we can save some footprint, yeah.
Right, yeah. Germany and the UK. I mean, Poland is doing okay. We're not completely killing the economy here.
Not yet, but few years more, and we will be also.
Well, it's just like I talk with some of my my Polish friends and who know some of the things that are happening within the government. I mean, really. Much of Eastern Europe is being, I mean, this is another can of worms. Much of Eastern Europe is just being stifled intentionally. I mean, there are, talking with these people, they very much realize that it's not Poles who are in control of Poland, unfortunately. And it's not just the EU either. And I mean, much of the hatred is directed at the EU because these are unelected officials dictating and stealing away the independence of a nation, your nation's sovereignty. And they've even said that on the EU floor, that you need to give up, if you're going to be a member of the EU, you need to give up your sovereignty. Sorry, we're going off.
Okay, so you were living with your grandma, your mother, and with your aunt probably in the surroundings.
Yeah, at some point in time, right?
You are a student. So mostly, and you support the left side. What was the turning point?
So, let me kind of get to that because just to point out how leftist I was.
Yeah, please don't.
So that was like middle school, going into high school, going in with these ideas that, I mean, even leftists like still had a problem with gays. Yeah. There was still like a whole shift, like, or even when I came to Poland, I met several liberals who had no problem with the N-word, or we were brought up in the 90s, especially in a kind of post-racial society. You didn't really see race, especially as a child. You don't really see race. You don't see any differences, at least as a white person. And we had a lot of propaganda, especially. I mean, man, I was obsessed with getting an Asian girlfriend because, man, that was all the propaganda at the time. Still is to this day. Of being a white dude and hooking up with an Asian. They would always say exotic, so exotic. Those Asians, man, can't get more exotic than an Asian wife. Which unfortunately some of my family members fell for that. But I did snap out of it. Actually, when it came to traveling, and it wasn't any. Well, okay, let me rewind a little bit. Okay, so continuing, so that was a bit going into high school, and even in high school, I was like, my dream is to, I loved I still love Indiana Jones. I think it's a great, even though it's, made by Spielberg, it's still a fantastic film, just talking about the male heroism. It's very, masculine and heroic, and is someone to really look up to with a lot of qualities in how to act as a man. And I had the checklist of what I want to do to be like Indiana Jones. Be an archaeologist, punch a Nazi. And I was saying punch a Nazi before the Antifa people were. I was like, yeah, one day I'm gonna punch a Nazi. That's got to be that is on the list. And I was searching. I was like, oh yeah, the quote unquote rat line. the Americans moving German scientists and German people into the United States for various government positions. And I was like, oh, we got to hunt them down. We got to go to Argentina. We got to hunt down all these Nazis, and we got to kill them. We got to punch them in the face. Yeah, I was well on that track. And when I got into university, then it's all born out of naivete. You want to do something good. You think this is the best thing that you can do that's good, and that's why. When it comes to people like us who are on the right, we're really just like the older sibling. Mm-hmm. Being of right-wing mentality is just like older sibling mentality. Yeah. Because, these people, they just act like children. Yeah. Just like the display of acting like an infant. And, oh, no, Trump, no! It's just an infant, breaking down. Yeah. Very infantile, very childlike, this kind of attitude. But anyway... being on this kind of naive side and starting to meet people and I started to develop kind of a mix political grounds, like
so you started asking questions.
I started asking questions. Yeah, I started to move to a more neutral ground because I was like asking about politics and economics and but at the same time I was meeting people in Antifa and hearing about this and like hanging out with a lot of Antifa, especially when I was going to like the Democrats. The Democrats were very much socializing with, they're left-wing people. Of course, they're going to socialize with other left-wingers. And so I ended up meeting a lot of Antifa and going to the communes, as it were, which, I don't have so much. A commune is not a bad concept, just people living together, working together to have a farm and such. Great. But you get also a lot of people who are there just to kind of be a parasite. Yeah. And you see it right away. It's a lot more obvious these days. Instead of like these kind of hippie types, you get the literal smelly, dirty hippie who's like,
aggressive in the extent of Antifa.
Not yet. I'm just talking about in these environments, especially being a leftist, there's like no one going to be aggressive to you.
You skip few showers, you become leftist.
Yeah. It really is like that. They just, hairy armpits and everything. But they look, and just talking to these people, you realize how mentally disturbed they are. And really part of the problem with the left-wing ideology is it is largely a mental disorder, because what they're doing, and I've really tried to get in with this into left-wing communities, and they vehemently oppose it. It's just like, how many of you have depression? And then once they have
80% of them,
who knows?
They are on meds.
And this gets into the far left, not the center left, but the far left. And then that's totally exploitable. Mm-hmm. When you have depression, you are much more of an easy target for exploitation, for this
manipulation.
And I would like to use better vocabulary to describe this, but it's just escaping my mind here. And then and they don't take care of themselves, and they don't have any respect.
But at this point of your life, would you be able to use violence as a leftist towards right-wing people?
Well, this was, like I said, I was meeting Antifa people, mm-hmm. but this wasn't the...
But you were not part of the crowd.
Well, society wasn't charged the way... I was talking about the Overton window. I know we were talking about windows closing, but I was talking about the Overton window. The Overton window has shifted a lot, right, to the left, instead of being more towards the center, or even, because every president, including Obama, that leftists hail as the savior, is just like talking about border control, talking about deporting people, talking about various other issues that are considered very right-wing right now. But anyway, the Overton window was just beginning to shift, and that's why you saw the emergence of this kind of Antifa, and Antifa growing in number, because it was the setup. They were starting to get set up at this time for the end of the protest against Wall Street. Mm-hmm. Because it was at this time, while I was in university, or a little bit before, I can't remember what year it was, but we had the anti-Wall Street protests.
So because of causing crisis or something like that, I don't know. Something
It was a
like that, yeah.
huge economic crisis. The banks were being bailed out by the government.
2008 probably, yeah. I think.
Yeah, about. Um, so there are the major bank bailouts, and because we had this kind of, I would maybe credit part of this with the kind of post-racial society, because now, things are very racially charged. You can't say the N-word. You can't even to another white person. If they're a leftist, you can't use all this different vocabulary, else it triggers this attack. But we had a much more cohesive society. And because of that, we became a credible threat to Wall Street. We became a credible threat to the Z's, the Israeli Z's, in control of the Wall Street banks. And they were prepared. They were already prepared to deal with that right away. And that's how race became such a big issue, because after they basically put a halt, a complete stop to the protests against Wall Street, then all of a sudden race. And I mean, a lot of people might call me a racist, but I don't have any issues with the colors of people's skin or how they look. We enjoy all kinds of people, and this whole thing that we face today is about national sovereignty and preserving our future. Yeah. And it's never been about hate for Africans or Asians or wherever you might come from. It's about maintaining our natural state of being and our culture, and not multiculturalism, because the whole guise of multiculturalism, diversity, is killing diversity, is killing multiculturalism and making it monoculture, ending diversity in all shapes and forms, so they can have that mulatto, low IQ, indiscernible
Cafe latte.
yeah, the cafe latte of the world. Anyway, going off again in too many tangents here. There's so many things, but bring it all back to Antifa. Yeah, and I was meeting with these guys, and I was thinking to join. I started to meet them when at martial arts training. There was one guy, and I saw him. Eventually, he got arrested actually by Portland police for one of these big attacks during the 2016-2017 riots. Big attacks or these big riots
After election, probably.
2016.
Yeah, Trump won.
Yeah, after the election, yeah. There were all these riots happening, and yeah, his name was Jack something in Portland. Shout out to you, Jack, in Portland. But yeah, he was one of these Antifa guys that I was like in communication with and thinking about joining. Oh yeah, and in high school, I forgot to share one more thing, last thing, and then we'll get to the shift to the right. Was like in high school, I was so vehemently left-wing and anti-racist. There's a lot of there still exists today a lot of right-wing communities that are supposed white supremacist organizations that try to improve their community. And one of those things that they can do is like cleaning the highway systems. You can volunteer to clean the highway or be near the highway, and so you can put up a sign to say, our organization cleaned the highway and cool. Picked up the trash. Yeah, that's cool, right? And so there was one hypothetical. I think it was actually the KKK. I don't think it was the KKK because it wasn't the West Coast, but it was some organization that was deemed racist and wrong-think, and they had cleaned up a highway and they wanted to have their sign there, and they did for a while. But there was this thing. Anyway, our history teacher put that forth and was like, "What do you kids think? Should these people have a sign?" And I was the only kid in the classroom who was so vehemently like, "No, they can't have a sign. You gotta they should all be in prison. They gotta go." Because I was just so already shocked by and already emotionally damaged essentially and mentally programmed to be against this, to be against any kind of white identity. And it wasn't until continuing in my university studies where naively I came to nationalism in a very naive form. I just came into the politics of it, like economics of it, actually. I was like, oh, nationalistic economics, doesn't that make sense? Isn't that more environmental? Like, why aren't we using our own resources? Why are we dependent on countries like China? Why do we have this interdependency? Like, what is that all about? Why shouldn't we be focused more on uplifting our own people? And it was still like from the lens of a left-wing naivete and just like, oh, this national, I mean, I could have been a national Bolshevik. I don't know, but that was what started. And started getting in debates. I had an Antifa professor who was trying to. There's a left-wing form of Cascadia, which is which was an idea born by Thomas Jefferson, the second president of the U.S., to start a new country, which he believed, and he was right, was very necessary to kind of keep the powers in balance in the U.S. and not let someone control such vast swaths of land. There's a right wing and a left wing Cascadia, just FYI, and the two, obviously very much hate each other. But yeah, so he was this left wing Antifa Cascadia professor, and I would get in debates with him about nationalism. And the more that we debated, and the more nonsense that he was. I mean, he would just try to shut me down, like, just stop talking. But, the less point.
And you smelled the bullshit, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. Smelled the bullshit and just being like, okay, there's something to this. And then actually the next turning point from that was just being like, okay, wait, who am I? I'm a white person. And can I be, I've been in La Raza, which is the race. It's a totally racist organization, right? I've been a member of Black Student Alliance. I've been a member of or I tried to be a member of the Native American Society or something like. I don't remember what the club, the organization. These were all university organizations, except for La Raza. Like, obviously exists outside of the university, but they are allowed to have university clubs. This racist and those are really insightful experiences, actually. I really don't think it was a bad thing that I was a part of those at all, even though it was like a very naive to kind of join those. But I would encourage anyone to kind of explore if you want to get an insight, except the mentality, the Overton window was a lot more different then than it is now. So probably not a good idea to see it these days. So it was from this and wanting to be like, oh, okay, well, I should celebrate European heritage. Like, what about? And I had this grand vision of like of multiculturalism, of true multiculturalism, true diversity. Like, oh, well, let's be unique and celebrate our cultural differences, our racial differences, and let's do that. And like, I want to start a white pride organization. And then when I started to talk, like, why can't we have a white pride? Why can't we have white pride? And my sister, was also living in the same city, and talking to her about it, and just like, you don't know, you can't do that. They'll kill you. They'll attack you. I'm like, what are you talking about? I just want to no. But you can have black pride. No, you can have gay pride. No. And it was from there that I'm just like, wait, okay, this is totally messed up. Why can't I have pride for myself? Well, we built this country. We've done so many great and incredible things. We've had so many heroes throughout time, inventions, and just the whole world exists now in some form of Western society, expressed, whether it's Africa or Asia. We've created these clothes. We've created this kind of the culture that has blended into their culture, what they've adapted into. And then I was actually the final stroke. Like, at that point, I became very. I was already kind of libertarian, and then I went like hard libertarian, like, oh, you know, Ron Paul, and then after Ron Paul didn't make it, I was just like, what? What are we gonna do now? And then um, it was actually a friend of mine that I met while, oh yeah, and when I went traveling around the world, that opened my eyes further of how I was treated as a white person. Some places they treat you very nice, of course. I mean, that was the general experience. Was like, um, actually, it was in Russia where it was that I was attacked for the first time. I had a close encounter in Thailand where someone tried to run me over, which wasn't very cool. And like people treating you like an ATM, and they're just always trying to steal money from you. Um, Not cool. But in general, I mean, anywhere in the world, general population is
So
very nice.
when you started traveling, you were getting more radical into like mm, into assertion that you are actually the one that should not be ashamed of anything. Yeah, that you are not less than anyone.
Right.
I can tell you my story that when I started living abroad, well, I left my parents' house.
Mm-hmm.
I also got radical into right side because I was living back then in Barcelona in Spain, and I started seeing what leftists are actually doing, how the big rich society as Spain back then, like 15, 20 years ago, is going into collapse because of high taxation, because of communism, because of people, homeless people taking over somebody's properties. I saw so many.
Terrible crime, by the way.
Yeah.
I mean, it's such a shame.
I saw all of this LGBT crowd, gay people adopting children, and I thought, okay, it's not going the right direction. In this country, people are not having children. There are no more families. People prefer to have pets rather than children. And I saw this collapsing society. And even though, as I was living also under my parents' roof, I was student. I was also like leftist, center. I remember that I used to hate all of this right wing crowd. But when I saw this when I saw this comparison of Poland that was quite conservative back then, and Spain that was completely left leaning and collapsing and is still collapsing, I got radicalized as you did.
Man, Mazel Tov.
What has,
Picture
what,
frame just fell off the wall there, and right when you're talking about, yes, the transformation, they're not happy about that. Maybe, no. It's a grand way. Yeah, Let's use this as a metaphor. You know, breaking the mold here, just as the glass did.
Yeah.
Breaking out of the frame, breaking out of the
yeah,
box.
exactly.
Which, you know, you and I would both very much encourage Polish people to travel,
Yeah.
because just like with friends of mine in Poland who were centrist or leftist, and then they went to Spain actually,
Yeah.
and they saw the same thing, and they're just like, oh my gosh, Poland cannot end up like Spain.
Yeah.
And just to finish, and because I want to hear about your story, and I'm sure the audience wants to hear, is like about your story, and how the final straw really came to be was, yeah, after traveling and actually going, maybe just before leaving to Japan, I stopped fantasizing about the Asian wife, and I don't know if it was like something
Like you
degenerate.
were not attracted, or you
Totally,
find them...
totally unattracted. I don't know if it was. I like to jokingly say something like it was degenerate, like tentacle porn. Like one day I just saw a video of tentacle porn. I'm like, no, I'm done. I'm done. But something switched in me. Like I really to this day I love Japanese culture or Korean culture or
It's clean,
whatever.
it's quiet, yeah.
It's clean. It's quiet. It's very
Well organized.
You know, they are the Europe of the East, basically. You know, this society is very functional, and that's why it's enticing to a lot of Westerners, even just to adopt this kind of culture, right, without realizing. Anyway, I started to really value European women, and especially when I went to this one club in Japan, and I met the most beautiful 10 out of 10 Swedish girl. And she was there. I'm like, okay, so, you know, got to talking with her. What are you doing here? And she's married to some Japanese guy. And no offense to Japanese people, but I was just like, wow, you're so out of, I mean, I was just thinking, you know, you're so out of his league. I mean, you know, he has things going. He's not bad looking for a Japanese guy, but it's just like,
Yeah.
comparing apples to oranges, as the old saying goes. Um, and I was just really taken aback by that. That just like, okay, you're not gonna have your children are not gonna look like you. They're gonna look more like him. I mean, in a third generation, maybe they'll look like you
Not
again
really.
if they
Not
find a
really.
white person. But it's just like, bro, I wouldn't put away my genetics like that. And I was just like, I want to look like, I want my kids to look like me.
Yeah.
And but then I was just really comparing her also just to, I mean, to be completely, we should be completely honest and proud of this. It's just like we do have the most attractive people on the planet.
Yeah.
Period. I mean, everyone wants a white woman.
Yeah.
Everybody, especially blacks, they see it as a status symbol. They really do. It's big status for them to have a white woman, and I mean, it's just like everyone wants a piece of us. Everybody, and it's very understandable, when you consider the diversity that we have here, the true European diversity. The blue eyes, the green eyes, the red hair, the blonde hair, the every different shade you can come across of brunette, whatever. I mean, you have people from Asia and Africa who come to a Nordic country, a Scandinavian country, and they see someone with natural platinum hair, platinum blondes, which doesn't even make up a whole percentage of the population. This is what really gets my heart, is like when you see some of these race mixed couples, or you see the promotion of diversity. It's just like these platinum blondes, or these various shade of colors that we have are so unique, and there's so little they don't even make up 1% of the population of the entire world, not even 0.5%. I think platinum blondes is like 0.1
Yeah.
0.1% of the population of the world, and it blows their minds when they see that. So I'm going off track here, but then so that was one thing, and then the final nail in the coffin for me was like I met a friend from the U.S. in Korea, and he showed me Murdoch. Have you ever heard of Murdoch?
Mm, you mean this scammer that used to?
No, not a scammer. No, it's a cartoon.
Okay.
It was a cartoon that used to be on the Wild West days of YouTube, and I highly recommend anyone looking up Murdoch, Murdock, I believe, and it's a very funny right-wing animation, and it started really getting into controversial things, even at that time, when the Overton window wasn't so far left, and I was just like totally blown away. And first I was just like, dude, you can't watch this. You can't say what? And then I was like listening and getting into it, and I was also checking into history. I had learned what happened to my great grandfather, who was German, and trying to investigate why he saw things the way that he saw things. Anyway, and so that really set the path forward for me.
Mhm.
Now
Well,
we can pass.
I can just tell you that my story was very very similar to yours. So I went abroad. I left my parents' house because basically I was raised by my grandmother, who was not a feminist, but still we were watching TV together, and it was the same bullshit as maybe not this far left leaning as in US. So my both points, as I said, and I also. When I was living abroad, when I was traveling a lot, I have also come to conclusion that white women are the best. They are. I want my genes to be passed down.
Whatever,
I don't
one or two or maybe 5 ladies watching this.
Yeah. I don't understand people destroying their genetics, mixing with some other people, and their genetics are not existent anymore. Maybe in fourth, fifth generations, but usually it never happens. So it's like blown away. So my story is the same here, and I'm really happy that I could have independently seen what is going on in the world, and mostly rotten west is something that made me realize that Poland now is not bad. Polish white women are not bad, and people should go on their own. They should stop living with their parents, of the funds of their parents, and they should compare conservative world and why people come to west instead of come to capitalize west capitalism west instead of going capitalist west instead of going backwards to the way around. Yeah. So that's my whole story. I wanted to hear yours, and it's pretty the same.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I would just add to that, like, for anyone,
I would like to add
yeah.
one. I was a socialist until I started making money and I started paying taxes, and I saw how much taxes, how much of my finances are being wasted for some crap, and that's why I've come to conclusion that it's better to be conservative, to pay as least taxes as it's possible, and to decide for your own budget.
Right. Right. Actually, I'm going to forego the last point that I had, and we'll save it for another episode. So, thanks all for watching and getting to know our stories here. I know mine was a bit long-winded there, and I went off into these different places. So I hope we were able to stay on track enough to get that story clear. But yeah, man. I mean, it was a journey. It's not just a political journey. It is a spiritual journey. Maybe we'll talk about that for our next episode, sure. Or maybe just to include it on this, because actually, yeah, no, let's just include it. Just a short thing here.
And maybe we'll develop this story on the next episode, but now just shorter.
Well, it's just like when I was in Portland, Oregon, and I was working for a hummus business. Just about everyone that I was working with, of course, was Arab. Some from Tunisia. I don't know where else. But one of them I was talking to, and this was the first time that I learned about kind of the whole. I mean, I was learning a bit about Islam, but kind of the whole concept of Islam, and talking to this young man, and he was telling me, that Islam is not just a religion; it is
Form
everything.
Huh? Form of dominance.
No, I mean, well, it is they are about having they practice a form of dominance, but it is the whole. It is the whole system. It is the whole kit and caboodle. It is the politics. It is the spirit. It is it is the spiritual system. It is the economic system even. Yeah. It encompasses everything, and that's where our viewpoint should be. Whether you are Christian, whether you are pagan, really, I don't really feel like acknowledging the other belief systems. I think if you want to be a Buddhist, you should look into paganism. If you want to be an atheist, you should get back in touch with God and belief, and seeing what's out there, because there's so much more than obviously what we are even able to perceive with our own human senses, and we should view the world through that lens. That what makes up society? What makes up a culture? And it's like it generally comes down to 4 pillars, and that's religion. It's government. Well, I don't remember the 4 pillars of family. Hello, family. So family,
language, maybe
spirit, maybe language, and maybe governance is part of it. But
common interest, I don't know.
I don't remember. Oh my God, this is terrible. But anyway, so it's the bottom line is that spirituality is a pillar to society. It's a pillar to the nation, and it's really the kind of lens that you should be looking through things. Your politics should be very much. I don't think Muslims are wrong in this regard, that their politics is part of their religion. I mean, that's kind of how Christianity was, right? Yeah. I mean, it was very interwoven, and it did get out of hand in some. I consider myself a pagan, but I also do believe in Christ, and the way that, again, the way that we should operate within society is through that lens of spirit. I've repeated myself too many times on this, but
not a problem.
You should see things as both spiritual and political. It should all be incorporated as one, because we are spiritual beings after all. It should be tied. It shouldn't be something. It's our nature. It's nature. It should be tied to that nature. Whatever kind of decisions. It shouldn't be about the GDP. because it's just like, and this has been, proven time and time again. You can have a successful GDP if you were to like cut down all your forests, for example. You could have a very good GDP if you completely deforest your country, but what does that mean for your nation?
Yeah,
you're gonna have you're gonna have a lot of problems, and it's just like the same thing. If the GDP, if it's not in service of your people, of your nation.
Russia has growing GPT, but it's growing on the weapons, yeah.
Yeah, right.
So it's growing on bullshit.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, that was a little bit incoherent, repeating myself there, but I just wanted to throw in that last little bit. Anything else you want to add?
For now, it's good. I think we had a productive day.
Yeah.
We will go on with more topics in next days.
All right. So
I hope our audacity will be spreading, will be growing.
Yeah, definitely. All right.
Thank you for this episode, and please watch and like and subscribe. Bye.